At the beginning of the story, we see Kaya, who lives with her younger brother and father. Her mother has recently passed away, leaving the entire household in shock. Because of this, the atmosphere in the house is heavy and silent. They hardly talk to each other anymore. Still, Kaya does her best to take care of both her younger brother and her father. To make sure they are okay, she has even stopped going out herself. But today, her friend Clara has called her, asking her to join them for a walk. Her father, however, hasn't been able to recover from the grief. Today, he is especially heartbroken because his wife had died on his boat, the same boat he is repairing now. Every time he looks at it, he is reminded of that tragic accident. Meanwhile, Kaya gets into her Jeep and drives off to meet Clara, who is already waiting for her. Together, they head out with the others, planning to spend some time at the sea. But then Clara mentions that her friend is also here and will be joining them. Hearing this, Kaya isn't too happy, since she doesn't really like being around crowds. But Clara quickly reassures her, saying, "Don't worry too much. My friend's brother is coming too. He's also my friend, and I'm sure you'll like him." Soon they meet, and this is when we learn that both brothers make vlogs. Clara's friend shares the plan for the day. They're going to an island using their jetboard. Kaya, however, knows it's going to take time, so she refuses, explaining that she has to be back home by evening. But then Clara's other friend insists, saying they'll be back before sunset. The island isn't that far. It's the same place they had gone just a few days ago. Clara also tries to convince Kaya, telling her, "I know very well you have responsibilities at home. That's why I promise we won't delay in anything. We'll return soon." Finally, Kaya agrees. The four of them head out together. Once they reach the island, they spend time enjoying themselves and having fun. Clara and her friend were bathing in the water, while Kaya sat nearby talking with Clara's other friend. She was feeling good in his company because in such a difficult time, Kaya needed someone who could be more than just a friend to her. After a while, they both joined the others in the water, enjoying themselves on the jetboard and planning to leave soon. But then, Clara's other friend pushed the speed too high in an attempt to impress Kaya. That, of course, turned out to be a mistake. Still unaware of the danger, they kept enjoying themselves. But because of the overspeeding, Clara and her friend's jet boat flipped over, throwing them both into the water. Before he could even gather his senses, Clara's friend was struck again, this time when the jet boat ran right over him. He was so badly injured that he fainted there in the water. Moments later, his own jet boat overturned as well, throwing him violently into the sea. Now, Clara's friend was seriously hurt, and seeing Clara terrified in the water, Kaya rushed to her side to help. Meanwhile, Clara's other friend desperately began searching for his brother, but he was nowhere to be found. That's when the horrible truth struck them. He was gone. He had drowned after the collision. Realizing this, Clara's other friend was devastated. He was filled with regret, knowing that if only he had been careful, if he hadn't been speeding, his brother's life could have been saved. But now he himself was so badly injured that he couldn't do anything. Kaya, too, began to panic, trying to figure out how to save herself, because by now, the fuel from both of their boats had spilled out into the water. Because of the accident, Clara's friend was badly injured. Seeing Clara terrified in the water, Kaya held her close and tried to calm her down, while Clara's other friend frantically searched for his brother. But his brother was nowhere to be found. That's when they realized the truth. He was gone. He had drowned after the collision. Knowing this, Clara's other friend was shattered. He felt guilty, drowning in regret, because if only he had been careful, if only he hadn't oversped, his brother's life could have been saved. But now he himself was too badly hurt to do anything. Kaya also began to panic, trying to figure out a way to save herself, because the fuel from both of their boats had spilled into the sea. That meant the only option left for the three of them was to swim and wait for someone's help. Meanwhile, something appeared in the water, heading fast toward them. But it wasn't a ship. It wasn't a human being either. It was a shark, coming straight in their direction. Kaya knew staying in the open sea for too long would only bring danger. That's why she urged them to get back to the jet boat. But just then, a miracle happened. From a distance, they spotted a boat, and on it was Captain Ray, who also noticed them. He immediately increased his speed and headed toward them. As he got closer, he realized they were crying for help. Ray quickly pulled all three of them onto his boat, one by one, and reassured them to relax because they were safe now. He carefully made Clara's injured friend sit down, as he had lost a lot of blood and was in bad condition. Clara went inside to the washroom, where Ray happened to be as well. In that moment, we noticed that Ray kept looking at Kaya again and again. When Clara didn't return even after a long time, Kaya went inside to see where she had gone. While searching, she spoke to Ray and stood there for a while, watching him closely because she noticed he was busy with something important. She deliberately didn't say anything and just stood still, not moving. Ray was applying some kind of chemical onto a piece of cotton. Kaya assumed he was preparing it for Clara's injured friend to clean his wound. But after a moment, Ray suddenly pressed it against Kaya's mouth, forcing her to inhale it. The strong chemical smell made her unconscious. It became clear now that Ray was not a good man. Once Kaya was unconscious, he dragged her into a container at the rear part of the ship and locked it from above. But he left Clara's injured friend outside, perhaps because he didn't like boys. or maybe because the boy was already weak and badly hurt. When Kaya woke up 2 hours later, she was terrified to find herself in such a place. Around the same time, Clara also regained consciousness. She too was frightened. That's when she noticed the word "help" carved onto a stick, proof that someone else had been locked there before and had written it in desperation. The entire place looked like a hidden chamber, with only one way out, an opening at the top, which was sealed shut. The mattress they were given was stained with blood and had strands of women's hair scattered on it, a horrifying sign that many girls had been imprisoned here before them. Both of them were shaken with fear, wondering why they had been brought to such a place. Kaya thought to herself, if only we had never come to this island. But regretting now was of no use. Whatever was going to happen had already begun. What was to happen had already happened. Now they had no choice but to think about how to escape, because the more days they spent there, the greater the danger would become. The next morning, Ray opened the upper door and threw down live rotten fish for them to eat. Kaya immediately began begging him, pleading, "Please let me go. I have a younger brother at home who's all alone and he needs me." But Ray coldly replied, "Absolutely not. And if you even try to escape from here, I'll kill you, chop you into pieces, and feed you to the fish." Saying this, he slammed the door of the container shut again and walked away. Then he went about his daily habits, eating live fish, listening to loud music, smoking cigarettes, indulging in all the wrong things. But in between, one detail stood out. At times, he spoke to someone over a walkie-talkie, which meant another person was going to arrive here soon. Meanwhile, Clara's injured friend still lay there. After so many days, he hadn't received any medical treatment, nor had Ray given him proper food or water. His condition was getting worse with every passing hour. Then, after 4 long days, the distant sound of a ship echoed across the sea. Both girls heard it and their hearts filled with hope. They looked at each other, happy and desperate, thinking that maybe someone had finally come to rescue them, or perhaps it was the Coast Guard, arriving to save their lives. But it turns out that the man who arrived was a doctor. He had parked his ship far away and reached here on a small boat. First, he came to see Clara's friend and asked, "How long has he been lying here?" Ray replied, "It must have been about 4 days. Hearing this, the doctor said, "It doesn't matter. He'll still be useful for us." Then he went down to where both girls were sitting in the corner, terrified. The doctor asked, "Who among you is hurt? I've come to treat you." Clara stepped forward. The doctor nodded and said, "All right, lie down." He examined her briefly, then went back upstairs while speaking with Ray. But soon after, they heard horrifying screams coming from Clara's friend, because in reality, that doctor wasn't treating him at all. He was cutting out his organs while he was still alive. One by one, he removed everything inside him: kidneys, heart, eyes, liver, and more. Things he was going to sell for a large sum of money. This was his business, and he had no mercy for that poor man. After torturing him to death, they dumped his lifeless body into the sea. When the screams stopped, both girls understood the awful truth that Clara's friend had been killed. They also realized that the doctor was no better than Ray. He was just as twisted and dangerous, and the two of them were working together. Later, we hear the doctor and Ray talking. The doctor said, "The other girl is injured, so we'll kill her here. As for the one who's still healthy, I'll take her with me. I have a wealthy client whose son needs a fresh young kidney. In return, we'll get a lot of money." Ray agreed because this was exactly what he had been doing for the doctor for years, tricking people stranded at sea and then selling their organs for profit. After some time, both men went down again. This time, the doctor started to take Clara upstairs. Kaya tried to stop them, but Ray struck her hard, knocking her unconscious right there. Then both of them carried Clara up. Several hours later, when Kaya finally regained consciousness, she was horrified to hear Clara's screams echoing above. That meant Clara was still alive, which was true. They hadn't yet removed her organs. That's why whatever Kaya had to do, she had to do it quickly. In that moment, she noticed something. A fan had been installed in the container. It used to run during the day, but was turned off now. If she could push it outward, the hole where it was fixed would open. Kaya gathered all her strength and started pushing it hard. Finally, the fan gave way and the hole opened. She squeezed herself out of the chamber and slowly made her way up. There, she saw the doctor already starting his work, while Ray was just coming in. Kaya quickly slipped down into the engine room, where she found a fishing arrow used to catch fish. She picked it up, and after Ray left, she returned to the doctor's side and aimed the arrow straight at him. Seeing her, the doctor was stunned. No girl had ever had the courage to come this far. He immediately tried to trap her with his words, distracting her. But before he could get close, Kaya fired the arrow. It struck him, injuring him, but not killing him. Enraged, the doctor lunged at Kaya. During the struggle, Kaya managed to untie Clara's rope without the doctor realizing it. Taking advantage of this, Clara freed herself completely and then attacked the doctor with a knife-like strike to his neck. She stabbed him over and over until the doctor's life finally ended. Breathing heavily, both girls wasted no time and began looking for a way out. Ray was still unaware of what had happened, which was the only reason he hadn't come down yet. Kaya, however, knew the doctor had arrived here on a ship. To reach it, both of them jumped into the water. Sometime later, Ray came up to the room. Everything was scattered, and he immediately sensed something was wrong. Then his eyes fell on the doctor's lifeless body. Furious, he rushed upstairs. But there, the doctor's small boat was still tied up. This made Ray think the girls must be hiding somewhere inside it. He searched the entire boat from top to bottom, but didn't find them anywhere. Then Ray climbed further up and switched on the searchlight. That's when he spotted them. Both girls struggling in the water, heading toward the doctor's ship. Immediately, he rushed to start his boat, but it wouldn't start. Frustrated, he ran down to the engine room and discovered the wires had been cut. It was none other than Kaya who had done this earlier, knowing Ray would try to chase them down with the boat. Meanwhile, Clara was struggling in the water. Because of her injuries, she couldn't swim. Kaya tried her best, supporting her, pushing her forward, doing everything she could to help, but Clara simply couldn't keep going. Seeing this, Kaya made a painful decision. She told herself she would go to the ship alone and find some way to get help. With that resolve, she swam ahead and finally reached the doctor's ship. But when she climbed aboard, she realized she didn't have the keys. No matter what she tried, she couldn't start it. Instead, she found a radio. Quickly, she connected to the Coast Guard and cried out, "I'm stuck here, I don't have the keys." They answered back, instructing her to look for a device called a picker that could start the ship without keys. Kaya searched everywhere, but she couldn't find it. Instead, she came across a flare. But the Coast Guard told her she wouldn't be able to activate the ship without the picker, because it worked like a tracking device, and it would be difficult to locate since it was kept far away. Determined, Kaya tried again, and this time she finally found the picker. To activate it, she would have to throw it into the water so her location could be tracked. But when she went up to the deck, she felt the presence of someone swimming nearby. Her heart sank with suspicion. It had to be Ray. She quickly hid, and after a moment, she saw him climb aboard the ship. Her suspicion was absolutely correct. Kaya hurried downstairs into the doctor's bedroom. There, she noticed a family photo. He had 2 daughters of his own. Kaya thought to herself how blinded he had been by greed, so much so that he destroyed the lives of others without a shred of pity. Just then, when she came back upstairs, Ray caught her and stabbed her in the stomach. Kaya collapsed, injured and weak, but even in pain, she tried to outsmart him. Pretending as though she wanted to embrace him, she pulled him closer, and in that instant, she fired the flare directly into his face. Ray screamed in agony, thrashing violently until he finally collapsed. Kaya, too, was badly injured from the struggle. She dragged herself slowly across the deck, desperately trying to reach the shore in her pain. With the last of her strength, she attempted to throw the picker into the water, but her body gave out and she fainted right there. Yet, life has a way of holding on, no matter the circumstances. The ship rocked all night in the restless waves, and during the movement, the picker slipped on its own and fell into the sea. Once it hit the water, it activated, sending out Kaya's location. By morning, a Coast Guard boat arrived. They pulled Kaya to safety, and also discovered Ray's dead body aboard the ship. They were just about to leave with Kaya when they suddenly noticed Clara floating in the sea. She was still alive. Without wasting a second, they pulled her aboard as well. Both of the girls broke down crying, shaken to their core, because they had never imagined something like this would ever happen to them. Now, although it seemed like everything was finally over, Kaya was still not able to recover from the shock of losing her mother. That wound inside her remained deep and unhealed. The question lingered. How would she ever truly move on from this? Eventually, both friends were brought safely to the shore. Exhausted but alive, they looked into each other's eyes and managed a faint smile. In that moment, they felt nothing but gratitude that their lives had been spared. Together, they made a silent promise. Never again would they venture into such dangerous places. And with that, the story of this film comes to an end.